welcome to this video where I cover news and notes from the last week in the 4 major regions. Being that it will be the off-season and the off-season has started for many teams already, I figured I should take notes and, give you the news of what's happening because obviously it's the off-season and you probably, not probably, but may not be keeping up on things that teams are doing. I don't know if this is going to be an every week occurrence because sometimes I imagine nothing is going to really happen. But I thought about it today. I was like, well, there's been some stuff that's happened the past week. It's worth, mentioning and going over. So, let's get started. So the top news of the week would definitely be that G2, Order, Detonation, Focus Me, and, Istanbul Wildcats all made it to the mid-season invitational in Korea. So G2, obviously yesterday I went over that in that video where I went over the LEC finals being one of the 4 major region teams. I didn't include T1 on here because they made it on the second, so they don't fall into this. Obviously, T1 made it to MSI as well. Smaller regions though. Detonation Focus Me coming from Japan. Order coming from Australia, Oceania, but pretty much Australia, and Istanbul Wildcats, Istanbul obviously from Turkey. So, those teams are here. Last year they made some noise at the international events. We'll see if they can do that again this year. Not often does that happen, but they did do it last year. There was some upset, so it's worth noting. Obviously, leading into MSI, I will be making videos previewing each team, going over the smaller region teams, because I will obviously respect them as a 4 major, as much as a major region team going into MSI and, covering all the games, regardless of who's playing. So we'll learn more about those players when we get there. But as of right now, those are the 4 teams that made it to MSI in the last week. Now, as it pertains to the 4 major regions, we had some notable things occurring. Sandbox already swapping out their bot laners. They brought Prince back from summer of 2021, where they finished 4th place, and sent Ice down to Challenger. That leaves Envy up with Prince, and I looked over some stats. So, Ice obviously was better than Envy this past split. That is why Envy lost the job to Ice. Ice, however, only went 9-23. His KDA was not great. Honestly, I compared their stats to Prince's from 2021, and obviously they're 2 different teams. Sandbox had Summit in 2021. They had Effort in bot lane, and they don't anymore, obviously. So, did they downgrade at those positions? Sure, but I will say Prince definitely outperformed Ice and Envy, especially in the secondary categories, CSing outright. Prince was better than them by quite a bit, 0.32 in the case of Ice, and over a CS every other minute for Envy. As far as participating in kills, he was superior. He also secured more kills himself, all while getting less gold than Ice did this past split. So Prince was able to do more with less than Ice was able to do this past split. I will say I also am not a big fan of how Ice's champion pool is pretty limited. Envy and Ice both used 7 champions each this past split, and Envy played in 9 games where Ice played in 32. So it's a little unacceptable in that way. Prince in 47 games used 9 different bot laners last split in 2021. So we'll see if that change helps them at all. Obviously, they were a bottom 3 team in spring of 2022. I came into the split pretty excited about them. I thought they had some potential. They're young in some areas. And, I think this is an improvement. I don't know if it'll be enough, especially with Red Force swapping out coaches. Red Force had to do something, and they did, swapping out SBS for Irene. Irene is coming off of a 2021 where he went to Worlds with, it's like Galactica Esports or something. They're from the TCL. He coached the TCL representatives in 2021, took spring of 2022 off, and is now coach of Red Force going into summer of 2022. SBS went 29-43 in a few splits with Red Force and also with, I believe, Team Dynamic. He finished third last year with Red Force in summer, but did not make Worlds. They had Peanut at the time. They had Gory and a different team. But at the same time, I don't think that that's really. I mean, you did not downgrade this past year investing in BDD and Ghost. So Red Force really is not giving him a free pass on that. Now Irene, who's coming in, he's been in 2 different major regions. He's first was spent time in the what was then EU LCS, but now known as the LEC. He coached for 1 year in 2017, going 9-21. He then went to the TCL and made it to Worlds with Supermassive, and then would take some time in the LCS, coaching for CLG and EG, and then went back to the TCL and made it to Worlds again last year, like I said. So his TCL record, 59-22. I mean, great in the TCL. There's definitely no way to pick that apart. He is clearly a top 4 region coach, and even in the LCS, he went second with EG in spring of 2020, or maybe even was it spring of 2020 or spring of 2021? No, it was spring of 2020 because he was in the TCL last year. So he also finished third, I think, with CLG. So, and I mean, you should really give a guy a lot of credit. I think that was the last time CLG was even relevant. Went 37-35 in the LCS, and his highest, like I said, finish was second. So we'll see how he does. Obviously, the LCK is not the LCS, and it's certainly not the TCL, but he has shown that he can. I mean, if you can bring CLG out of the basement, you deserve a shot in a major region like the LCK or LPL. So he gets a look there. We'll see if that helps. They do need help. And I think I said in my video last week where I covered the 4 major regions and discussed what each team needs to do to make playoffs in 2020, 2022. Red Force, I felt like had some serious problems because they were old and they really didn't have options to fix their, their aging stars. So hopefully Irene can bring the most out of them. With CLG, he did it with PoE and Stixay, so it's possible. And with EG, I think he had Bang, and Bang was, past his prime at that point as well. LGD dropped Jay. Jay got caught for match fixing. Obviously, lifetime ban. He's done. Unfortunate, because I thought Jay was actually pretty solid once he came in with LGD, and, maybe that makes sense why they lost some games they probably shouldn't have down the stretch. But he looked good. He was an upgrade over Yeg, and they're back with Yeg again. He went 13-38 between LGD this past split before being demoted for Jay, and with Thunder Talk last year. I'm not going to blame him for Thunder Talk, the record he got with Thunder Talk, because obviously him leaving Thunder Talk, it was not him that was the problem, as they went and brought in UCal and Chieftain from the LCK and are still struggling. So, but he didn't do very well when he got his opportunity with LGD, so maybe he just kind of isn't, he isn't very good. So, I think LGD Gaming's going to have to look elsewhere for a mid laner. I don't think that that's an option. Heck, speaking of mid laners, Maple left Anyone's Legend. He got demoted for Forge. Forge, obviously, much better win rate than Maple. Looking at their stats, I think Maple was actually slightly better in some areas. But now Forge is 100% the starter as of the moment for Anyone's Legend. Maple, I think, maybe goes back to the PCS. He made it to Worlds and MSI last year with the PCS. Obviously, that was a team that was stacked PCS-wise. But the PCS are definitely the 5th best region, and some people would argue definitely as competitive as the LCS. They have really good players at the top for sure. So we'll see what Maple does, because now I believe he is 25. So we're getting to the point now where you have to, you're kind of running out of time here. But he's made it to Worlds a lot. He has a ton of experience. I think that he is not going to go to a team that he doesn't have a chance to go internationally with. So I honestly, I believe he might go to the PCS, so he has a better chance. Because I don't think a top tier team in the LPL is going to take him now. Um, excuse me. So that's it for news and notes for this past week. At least the things that are official. I imagine next week we're going to have something about Nuguri because he is reportedly going to sign with Damwon. We'll see when he does that. And that'll appear on the board. We'll see if there's news and notes over the next week worth talking about here. If you enjoy this sort of content, like and subscribe to get daily videos. I will have a video up every day of some kind. Thankfully, LPL returns tomorrow, so I'll have an LPL video, which is good, with my League of Legends roundup, where I cover the 4 major regions and break down the games for you, saving you the time of watching the games for yourself. For instance, EG and FlyQuest yesterday, there was a 50-minute game. I could break that game down in 3-4 minutes and tell you what happened instead of you watching the game for yourself and, saving you time. So comment down below as well if you have any opinions of your own on these situations. And thank you for watching this video, and I hope you come back for more content.